First, please welcome foreign attorney at Yuchon LLC, Mr. Woo Jin An. And first attorney at the far side, Mr. An. Next, from foreign attorney at Yuchon LLC, Mr. Sam Nang Lim. ผมอันดับต่อไปนะครับท่านเป็นจากสภาอุตสาหกรรมประเทศไทยนะครับคุณพัฒนศักดิ์หุ้นตระกูลครับผมและท่านสุดท้ายนะครับคุณกฤษรัตน์นะครับจาก Southeast Asia Law Office in Laos คุณกฤษรัตน์ก้อนเทียนนะครับผมFirst, we will listen to Mr. Woo Jin An from the Cambodia Investment Guide. Please, Mr. An.
Thank you. My name is Woo Jin An, and I'm from a law firm called Yulchon in Korea. I'm a Korean by myself, and here I have a local counsel from Cambodia, Mr. Sam Nang Lim. I and Mr. Sam Nang will, for this session, give a presentation on investment in Cambodia. I know that many of you are well familiar with Cambodia because it's your neighbor country and you have a lot of transactions with this country. But there will be people here specifically interested in investing in Cambodia, but number one, do not know much about Cambodia. And number two, you were reluctant because of the timing to invest in Cambodia because everything was going slowly, relatively slowly for the past few months because of the election that was being held last month. So we have the result as of at the end of last month, and hopefully within a few months things will start to stabilize and will reactivate into a normal business process in Cambodia. So with this background in mind, let me start my presentation in Cambodia. I won't take too long to give this speech because we have a panel discussion scheduled in the afternoon. So I'll give an overview of Cambodia first, including the economic statistics recently released by the Cambodian government, and some legal background of what Cambodia law provides in terms of foreign investment. Okay, so let's get into the overview of Cambodia. Cambodia is situated in the central of mainland Southeast Asia next to Thailand and also in between Thailand and Vietnam. Total area is 181,000 square kilometers, and it shares boundaries with Thailand to the west, Vietnam to the east, north with Laos, and south it is facing the Gulf of Thailand. As you can see here, from the northeast to down to the south, it shares border with Thailand. Ethnic groups, Cambodia is composed 90% of Khmer ethnic group, and 5% Vietnamese, Chinese 1%, and other comprise 4%. Religion, just like in Thailand, Buddhism is dominating religion in Cambodia, followed by Islam and others. Population, according to 2013 estimates, we have 15 million people. Median age is around 24 years. and unemployment rate is 3.4%. Here you can see the official name is Kingdom of Cambodia. Is run by a multi-party democracy under a constitutional monarchy. For our legal system, it is adopting civil law system, largely influenced by French legal system. And head of government, Prime Minister Hun Sen runs the government and re-elected as of last month. This economy can be divided into 4 different sectors, main sectors. 1, agriculture. 2, textile and garments. 3, construction. And lastly, tourism. If you see the GDP per capita as of 2012, $2,400. And if you see the GDP composition by sector, services portion, up to 40%, followed by agriculture, 36%, industry, 24%. Trend of GDP annual growth, as you can see, has made a steady growth in terms of GDP for the past few years. 2009, you see a slight drastic drop. This happened because of global economic crisis that happened in 2009. But past few years, maintaining steadily at the rate of 7% each year. If you see the GDP distribution by economic activity, this is in year 2006. Services sector, 39%. Followed by agriculture, fishery, forestry, 30%, and industry sector, 26%. But the next page, 2012 stats show agriculture exceeding the service sector by 37%, services sector 36%, followed by industry 22%. Cambodia has labor force of about 7.9 million people. As I told you, mentioned earlier, the population of 15 million, this takes part of more than 15% of population are labor force. And it has inflation rate of 2.9%. Its main agricultural products, rice, rubber, corn, vegetable, cashew nuts, cassava, and silk. Industries, main industries can be tourism, garment, textile, construction, rice milling, fishing, woods, rubber, cement, jam, and textiles. Export partners, America is 32.7%, is the top export partner, followed by UK and Germany, Canada, Singapore, and Vietnam, and Japan. Import partners, as you can notice, Thailand is the top import partner, which means Cambodia imports most in terms of country from Thailand, followed by Vietnam, China, and Singapore, Hong Kong, and Korea. This shows the international tourist visit to Cambodia. As you can see, tourism has been increasing in Cambodia. The purple bar represents 2011 figures, and the navy bar represents 2012 figures. As you can see, all of the countries have increased this number of tourists visiting Cambodia. Thailand marks 5th in terms of number of tourists ahead of Thailand. Vietnam is number 1, Korea, China, and Laos. But I can see the number of Thai tourists visiting Cambodia has almost doubled between year 2011 and 12, as you can see in the figures here. Cambodia rice export also growing. 2010 is 55 billion tons, whereas 2012 205 billion tons. Metric tons, okay. So next, I'll move into the investment policy of Cambodia and give you a brief and general overview of what Cambodia law does in terms to attract foreign investment to invest in Cambodia. Cambodia has adopted a policy that is favorable to attract foreign investors to make investment into Vietnam. And laws and regulations governing foreign direct investment are designed to encourage foreign investment. Foreign direct investors are treated in a non-discriminatory manner except for land ownership. Here we're talking about land ownership, non-discriminatory manner except for land ownership, because in Cambodia, by law, foreigners cannot own land. You can either enter into a long-term lease with a term of minimum 15 years to maximum of 50 years with an option to extend, or lease, or in a form of a joint venture. Because under Cambodian law, the law provides that Cambodian nationals or Cambodian entities can own land. It's obvious what Cambodian nationals mean because it means you have citizenship of Cambodia. Cambodian entities here is defined to be a company with a Cambodian national ownership of 51% or more. I make this statement because this is somewhat different from definition of what we can use in Vietnam, because in Vietnam it is not clear what distinguishes a Vietnamese company from a local company. In Vietnam, a foreign company is defined as a company established in Vietnam with a foreign capital. So it does not define how many percent foreign capital should be in a company in order to distinguish a company from a local company or a Vietnamese company. But at least in Cambodia, it is clear that a company with 51% or more is qualified as a foreign company, and a local ownership interest with 51% is considered as a local company.
Mr. Ando, how about 50.1?
It's 51%, right? The threshold. Yeah. The threshold is 51.
So if 50.5 is still considered as Cambodian company?
Cambodian company, yes.
Right.
And now we move to Council for the Development of Cambodia, also known widely as CDC, because this is a very important government organization in charge of foreign investment activities. CDC is the only and one-stop service organization responsible for development and oversight of investment activities in Cambodia. And CDC is responsible for reviewing, evaluating, and decision-making of all investment activities in Cambodia. This is the organization structure of CDC. As you can see on top, The chairman is the Prime Minister Hun Sen, and underneath his operation, there are different branches with different roles and functions assigned to them. Qualified investment project. This is also another important item that you need to pay attention to, because once you are qualified as a QIP, you are entitled to enjoy different benefits under Cambodia law. To be treated as a QIP, investor must register the investment project with the CDC. You file application for your project to CDC, and CDC has the discretion to review, make decisions, and grant you the incentives for your project. Once you're qualified as a QIPs automatically receive investment incentives. This can be in a form of a joint venture between Cambodian entities, between Cambodian entity and the foreign entity, or between foreign entities. Investments approved by CDC by major countries. This is a historical data showing the investments approved by CDC from 1994 to September 2012. As you can see from the chart, aside from the Cambodia itself, as a foreigner, a foreign country, China represents the biggest investments approved by CDC, followed by Korea, Malaysia, and you have the statistics for Thailand at the end of the right column. Now, it's interesting, in year 2011, I see 0 investments approved by CDC from Cambodia. But in 2012, we see 120 investment projects. Once you are qualified as a QIP, you get to choose a profit tax exemption or use accelerated depreciation. And once you choose as a profit tax exemption, you are exempted from 20% profit tax. Corporate tax here means the same as the profit tax. Corporate tax, same as profit tax. Once you are qualified and choose to receive a profit tax exemption, you have a tax holiday for a maximum of 9 years. First composed of trigger period, maximum of 3 years, plus 3 years thereafter, following the trigger period, and priority period of 3 years after 3 years. So total maximum can be 9 years. And second, if you do not choose a profit tax exemption, you may otherwise choose accelerated depreciation. This means you have 40% special depreciation allowance on the value of the new or used tangible properties used in the production or processing. And you can reinvest earnings from the special depreciation. You can also enjoy full import duty exemption, and you are free to repatriate profits outside of Cambodia. There are projects not eligible for the QIP incentives as listed in this chart. There are various items, as you can see, and there are even more items on top of this list. I don't think it's wise to list down or provide an exhaustive list here, but this list shows you some of the items not eligible for the incentives. For specific categories that you are interested in, you may feel free to ask questions later on. Investment guarantee. This is once again policy perspective. Equal treatment of all investors, disregarding nationality. No nationalization policy, meaning that the government cannot take some investment that you have already made investment in. No requirement of local equity participation, no price controls on product and services, no restriction on foreign exchange, free remittance of profits or foreign currency abroad. Now I see some variations to this on a case-by-case basis because I receive questions, is this allowed in Cambodia? And we consult with the Cambodian authorities whether a specific act is permissible. Sometimes we don't get a positive answer regardless of this government policy. So if you are a prudent investor, you probably would not rely on these policies, but rather become cautious to check and double check with the expert in various fields to give you a better and sound advice. Investment approval process to CDC. You apply, you make application to CDC, and CDC issues a conditional registration certificate to applicant, usually within 3 working days, but may take longer depending on circumstances. After you receive this conditional registration, you do company registration with Ministry of Commerce. And depending on your project, you file for relevant licenses, including Ministry of Industry, Mines and Energy, Ministry of Land Department, and so forth. And you get you need to get initial environment impact assessment with the Ministry of Environment, and tax registration with the Ministry of Economy and Finance. It will take 28 working days, but again, this is only when you have achieved all of these items here, then it will take 28 working days. But some of these items, like getting the relevant licenses, things like that, may take longer than what you expect. So please take this into account. And after you have done this, CDC will review and issue a final registration certificate to the applicant. We have a special economic zones issue. The Cambodian government also provides incentives in this area. I'll abbreviate special economic zones as SEZ, special area for the development of economic sectors, which brings together all industrial and other related activities within the zone. It must have a land of more than 50 hectares with precise location and boundaries. And another requirement is that it must have a surrounding fence. Application process, you file application for the development of SEZ, and the authorities will examine the application. Feasibility study will follow. Final registration certificate issued, and you declare the establishment of SEZ. Here are the incentives distinguished by identify the beneficiary. If you are a zone developer, you have a maximum 9 years tax on profit exemption, no import duties, land concession, If you're a zone investor, you have same investment incentives on customs duty and tax as a QIP, 0% value-added tax, and commonly no restriction on transfer for all incomes and salary to other countries after tax payment. And of course, investment guarantees maintained. Before I move on to dispute settlement, I would like to mention to Thai potential business people here that there are 3 forms of how you can set up your presence in Cambodia. Number 1, you can set up a representative office. Number 2, in a form of a branch office. And thirdly, in a form of a subsidiary. Now, a representative office is the most simple form of a company where you can establish a presence in Cambodia. It's not a separate legal entity, but it's more of a liaison office where the office can do marketing, research, pass on information, do the networking in Cambodia. So a lot of people, if you're not too familiar with Cambodian culture and how they do business, they tend to set up a rep office first to become familiar with local practice, local culture, and get the human network with Cambodia people. Once you set up a rep office, it has a term of 2 years you can maintain in a form of rep office. And when you want to extend that, you need to get an approval from the relevant authority. Secondly, you have a branch office. It's not a separate entity either, but you are allowed to do buying and selling goods on behalf of your headquarters in Thailand. And you can do more business-related activities, profit learning activities than the representative office. But you are still not an independent entity in Cambodia. So you cannot enter into a contract or anything like that unless you have a POA from your headquarters in Thailand. Another one, lastly, is a form of a subsidiary, which means that you form a company in Cambodia. That means you are treated as an independent legal entity for the purpose of Cambodian law. So if you're confident to do that, I think you can free to establish a subsidiary in Cambodia. Once you set up a presence in Cambodia, and if you want to do business in Cambodia, from the legal perspective, it is also as important as setting up a company, how you can resolve a dispute from your business in Cambodia. Because a lot of times you are surrounded by your Cambodian partners, you hear good stories of business, you're looking at the profits in the future, but you're not looking at downside of your business. But believe me, it may happen because a lot of times things will get wrong and a dispute will arise. But the consequence is if you're not paid to this dispute settlement mechanism, you will end up in an unfair result, not otherwise you would expect in your home jurisdiction. Now, Cambodia, I think let's go into the slides and find out what alternatives are available there. National Center of Commercial Arbitration. You have an arbitration here, promotes commercial arbitration in Cambodia, and provides for commercial dispute settlement outside of the judicial system. Arbitration is not well developed in developing countries. That includes Cambodia. Unfortunately, arbitration has not been very active in Cambodia, and a lot of foreign investors must resort to domestic courts of Cambodia. But in March of this year, Cambodian government, in an effort to attract more foreign investment, set a National Center of Commercial Arbitration in Cambodia. to facilitate arbitration, to offer foreign investor a fair ground to resolve their dispute without having to worry about unfair, not transparent decision from the local court. But
just wondering, can you give us, if there is any example where foreign business goes to domestic court and actually win a case?
Mr. Samnang, could you, where he's asking you a question where a foreign investor went to a Cambodian court against a Cambodian party and has won a case in Cambodia.
There are many cases that foreign investor won the case in Cambodian courts. Even there's some problem in Cambodian judicial system, but still foreign investor can find justice in Cambodia.
Right. Okay.
Yes.